Tell us about the Apple headquarters in California. That's a very exciting project.
Yeah. That was the first project that I was working on, and obviously
it's like architecturally, it's like we're hitting the lottery, isn't it? Like,
yeah.
You know, that's the first thing on your CV.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is
and then
brilliant.
it's hard to beat, like, because it's a $5 billion project.
Very big as well, isn't it?
Huge.
Circular.
Yes. And the amount, like, what I loved working at Foster & Partners is that the innovation and the push for doing the best. Like, you have to think outside the box, and you have to, it's not just a thought, you make it happen. And you work closely with engineers, and it's a lot of collaboration, and it's like, okay, there's a problem here, how do you solve it? And architecture, then you realize it's about problem solving. And so when you have like constraints, it's like, how can you push the boundaries and still achieve close to your vision? If you're not getting 100% the vision, normally it is 100% the vision, and there's compromises and things on the way, but you can make anything happen. And I think that's the beauty of architecture, is literally anything is possible if you've got the right team.
I actually think that's true. And there's also something else about the building in California. It's not completely stuck to the ground, is it?
No, it's...
that is an engineering marvel.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what's incredible. It's like you see something from the outside and someone has an opinion on the way it looks. But once you know how that's constructed and how it's put together, it's floating, basically. So it sits on these base isolators. And this is a concept that's taken from Japanese architecture. I think skyscrapers in Japan.
Because of earthquake risk?
Yes. And California is in a seismic zone, so it is prone to earthquakes. So the building's designed so that actually it moves with the sway of an earthquake, because if it's rigidly fixed to the ground, it's going to break. Like, you're applying movement to something that can't move, and so it is going to collapse. So with Apple, it's got like a double structure. Like, one part is fixed, but the building itself is then set within that, and it sways with the motion of an earthquake. So
that is actually, it's brilliant.
Yeah, I've got a video on that one. So
yeah, no, we'll plug all of that. That is genuinely brilliant, and it is a dream job, like you said. So how long did this project actually take from, if you know the whole ins and outs from A to Z, how long does a building like this take?
So that started long before I got there.
As in the design or the
design?
The design.
I was working during the construction phase, like the detail design and construction. So that was my phase. But I think it had started maybe 4 or 5 years before that. So one problem with architecture is that it takes a long time to get something like that built. So you could be working the majority of your career on one project, and you won't see the end of that until quite far down the line. And then in that case, sometimes it gets a bit frustrating, and it's like, okay, I want to see something built, but at the same time, you might be working on other things at the same time. So it depends where you work.
2 points. Firstly, it's to do with everything, isn't it? Even the law and getting the permission to design in certain places. And more importantly, could there be an instance where you're stuck at a firm because if you're the primary architect on a design, it might be hard for you to leave?
You're working with a huge team. So there's always you're always working collaboratively.
Okay.
So if you were to leave, then the project still goes on. Like, the project is the project. That's why people are there.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, so I think that's not an issue. It's just, if you personally want to see it through to the end, that's a decision.
So by the time you left, was the project finished, or when you went back to your master's, was it then finished?
So at that point, they started moving people from London to California. So the team in London started getting smaller, and everyone was moving out to California while it was on site. So I think a couple of years after it finished, once I left.
Cool. Have you ever actually been?
No.
You should go there.
Yes, that is on my list.
Yeah. And is it a public building that people are allowed into?
I don't know, actually.
I think they would do to an extent.
There's certain areas. Apple is a campus, so there's many different buildings on that plot of land. So there's areas that visitors are allowed, like there's a visitor centre. So you can go there and you can visit. But the main building itself is actually where the innovation happens, where the teams work, where the ideas are.
you should definitely get down to California
Yeah.
and look at what you made happen.
Yeah.
It's not everybody who gets to work on a job like that.